Welcome back to Two Keto Dudes. This is Carl Franklin from Connecticut in the United States. And in February 2016, I put myself on a ketogenic diet to take control of my metabolism. In just 2.5 months, I managed to reverse all my markers of type 2 diabetes with diet alone. As of now, I'm 80 pounds lighter with no signs of diabetes or heart disease.
Hi, I'm Richard Morris in Canberra, Australia. I've been on a ketogenic diet since April of 2014. And when I started, I was very sick with complications from type 2 diabetes. Within 6 months of starting a ketogenic diet, all of my biomarkers of disease had disappeared. I've lost about 100 pounds. I've completely turned my health around.
And I'm Carrie Brown.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Carrie. Welcome to the show.
Yes.
And this show is a document of our experiences thriving for years in nutritional ketosis.
And, in my case, reversing bipolar 2 disorder.
And for me, it was type 2 diabetes.
And me too. And hopefully that might help a few people who are curious about this kind of dietary hacking.
Yeah, we're not doctors. We don't want to give any medical advice, but we are keen to share our own experiences. We're actually both software developers, so we're not afraid of a little technical detail, are we, Carl?
Not me.
And I'm not a software developer at all, but I am a awesome recipe developer.
And a former Microsoft employee, so that counts.
So I get to join the club?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
By proxy software developer.
Yes. We have done some research into our own deranged metabolisms and the science behind them, and we've shared studies that we've found in the show notes.
You'll probably work out pretty quickly that we're all foodies.
Yeah.
Yay, food!
We love to cook and we love to eat.
Yeah.
In every episode, we all share recipes. Well, it's complicated. We share recipes. They're good. You should try them.
You should.
So let's start podcast number 149. Happy New Year! So, Richard, do we have any apologies or corrections from last week's show?
Let's see. Last week was the holiday hangout.
Yeah.
Number 148. We don't have any apologies or corrections at all from that show,
Nope.
but everyone keeps asking me, are you really leaving? Are you really leaving?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that more on this show.
But wait. We do have a correction.
Okay.
Okay.
We have to talk about the tomato sauce debacle.
The tomato sauce debacle. Please explain, Carrie.
Rayo's.
Oh, yeah, Rayo's. Yes, that's right. I was called to task for not pronouncing it correctly. It's Rayo's.
Not rouse?
Not Rouse.
Oh, okay.
All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's revisit what a ketogenic diet is, Richard.
Sure, that's a diet that puts you into a state of ketosis where you're burning fat for energy rather than glucose. And one easy way of doing that is by just not eating much sugar or starch. We did that by eating 20 grams or less of carbohydrates every day.
Yep.
What are carbs, you say? Well, I mean, carbs are bread, rice, flour, sugar, starch.
Yep.
These are all things that are carbohydrates. But there are foods that are good to eat, such as spinach and eggs and cream, that have trace amounts of carbohydrates in. You add all of those up during the day. If they're less than 20 grams, then you can stay in a state of ketosis. As for protein, our protein's moderate.
Yeah.
We don't get energy from protein. We use between 1.5 grams per kilogram of lean mass per day. For me, it's roughly 80 to 120 grams of protein a day.
Mm-hmm.
My protein is being used to develop my body and to build structures for.
Yep.
I get all of my energy from fat. Look, if you're just starting, listen to our Starting Keto show at start.2keto.com.
Yes. Well, Richard, how was your week? Do you have a good one?
I got sunburned, badly sunburned.
Oh, no. Picking coconuts.
Yeah, I was foraging for coconuts, actually, and got some fresh coconuts, peeled them. They're actually really quite difficult to peel as a fruit. And then once you get them peeled, you've got to, of course, crack the seed to get the coconut flesh out. But
Yeah.
fresh coconut is delicious. I went to visit my family who were on Stradbroke Island, which is a sand island off the coast of Australia. And it's sort of a little bit north of the Gold Coast. It's sort of the sea dunes or the sand dunes of the Gold Coast sort of keep going out into the ocean and become this island called Stradbroke Island. And so, of course, my mother said, here, you got to put suntan cream on. Put a suntan cream on. Get the suntan cream on. And I'm like, no,
Right.
I don't need suntan cream. I haven't had a sunburn since I went keto.
Yeah, right.
And after 3 days of going out in the sun, piling sun damage on sun damage on sun damage.
Yeah,
Also,
that's
sun. Yeah, I got sunburn.
Ah,
But
that'll do it.
other than that, yeah, I did. I actually rode because I had to catch a plane up from Canberra to Brisbane and then get from Brisbane Airport to the ferry, Stratty Ferry, and I took my bike up, my mountain bike that I bought in Connecticut a couple of years ago, and that was awesome because I was able to basically get off the plane. I caught an Uber across the bridge to the other side of the river, and then rode about 25k to the ferry, and then on the way back, rode all the way back as well, which is awesome. Riding the hot sun while listening to the cricket. So,
cool.
So that was my week. How was your week, Carl?
My week was pretty good. I solved a major mystery this week.
Mm-hmm.
I have had high blood sugar, and I had no idea why for the last couple of weeks, last couple of 3 weeks. And I got a continuous glucose monitor. I think I might have mentioned this on the last show.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a device that you have one of these. It's a Freestyle Libre, and it's a little device that has a, I don't know, like a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch long needle that's very thin, but you sort of just smack it onto your arm with a applicator.
On the back of your arm, on the underside, right?
Yeah, on the back of your arm. And it's got an adhesive, so it stays on there for 14 days, and it's continuously reading your glucose. And then you have this little monitor that uses a near-field communication. You just sort of tap it or put it near the device on your arm, and it reads all of the data points that it's collected of glucose since the last time you read it. So this thing helped me discover that coffee was spiking my blood sugar.
Really? Just plain black coffee?
Yeah. Well, it was either the particular product I was drinking, because I did change up the actual coffee that I was drinking. Like I got a new kind. So it might have either been that or the fact that I was drinking too much of it. And, I would have 5 or 6 cups in the morning. Now it is half decaf, but that was my trick. So I could drink more coffee was, half decaf. Maybe it was a little of both, but I noticed, get this, after consuming nothing but black coffee and water one day, around 3 p.m., my blood sugar was 150.
Wow.
And I was waking up with high blood sugar as well, like 120, 125. Basically, I all but stopped drinking coffee. And after 3 or 4 days, my blood sugar is solid as a rock back in the 90s.
Wow, fascinating.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah, I don't know what the mechanism for that could be. I know Dave Feldman has discovered that coffee drinking prior to getting a lipid panel perturbed some of the lipid panel results. So, but I don't know what
I don't know either.
There must be something else in that. I doubt it's caffeine, although it could be, but it's probably something else in that coffee. It'd be interesting to see if you changed the brand.
Well, I did. I did another experiment. I just went through Starbucks and I got a venti decaf Americano, which is made from espresso, and they water it down, and I had heavy cream. Yeah. And I monitored myself all day, and nothing. Nothing.
Interesting. So the filtered coffee, that you're getting, it's got a problem.
Well, it's beans that get ground in my maker, and then do the filter. Yes, but yeah, I definitely think it's that. So it's just very cool to have a diagnostic device like this that you can just anytime you're curious, you just sort of boop, instant glucose.
It's like a watch window, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. In software terms, we'd call it a watch window when you're watching a variable as the program that you've written runs, and you can see what it does. And sometimes what you think that variable is going to be doing is different from what it actually does.
Yep.
And that's just a big old hint that, somewhere something in your process is not working right.
Right. So I would definitely recommend to people who, are stuck or sort of don't really know what's going on, want to know this device. You do have to get a prescription for it.
Not in Australia. You just have to go to the website for Abbott, and they will. It's about $40 for a device that'll last you 14 days.
Wow.
And so if you're in Australia, just go to the Abbott site and order it online. You can't get it from pharmacists. I've tried multiple pharmacists; they just don't have it. The device comes with an applicator, so you don't need anything else, and it'll work with your cell phone. So You pretty much, as Carl says, if you have a question about this, if you're in the States, get a prescription to get one from your doctor. If you're in Australia, just go to the Abbott website and pick it up from there.
Well, speaking of cell phones, and I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but because we have a lot to talk about, but you have the same cell phone that I do, and it doesn't work with my cell phone.
Wow.
I don't know what app you're using.
Okay.
But maybe we can sync offline and you can share the app that you're using and we can try it.
There is something about the Australian app that will work, that works with it. And I think on a US cell phone, it doesn't work. I think that's right. I think you need to have a specific cell phone, and this Android app doesn't work in the US. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. The other thing I need to announce is that we have changed up our Patreon rewards.
Okay.
So we're still offering the Forum badge for $5 or more a month. But the $20 a month reward is access to an exclusive Facebook group.
Okay, great. Good idea.
Yeah.
People have been asking us for a Facebook group for a long time. So,
that's right.
So that's a good idea.
Yeah. The $50 tier is an interesting thing I'm going to start here. Cook along with Carl. You get to bring your laptop into the kitchen and cook a meal with me on a Sunday afternoon. And so what I will do is share the recipe and the ingredients earlier in the week in a free video,
right?
Which we'll also use to promote, the Patreon page. Yeah. And then, you do whatever prep work needs to be done. We all meet on a video conference on Zoom or something like that, and we cook together.
That's a good idea. So you can actually, over the video, have a look at what somebody's got in their pot, and you can give them tips on whether it's ready to go to the next step or needs more work.
Right, assuming that we have a platform that can support all of the people that want to, be on video, right?
Good.
The next tier is, we added a tier, a $400 or more per month tier, which is a retreat at my house.
Okay.
And I got this idea from Miss Carrie Brown, because she offers this on her Patreon page as well.
Yoo-hoo!
Right? And basically, twice a year, you and your partner, a couple, get to hang out with me at my home in Connecticut for a weekend, Friday through Sunday. And that's just a sort of added tier that we've done there.
Cool.
As you probably heard in the bumper, I had scheduled a retreat for mid-January at my house. Nobody has really taken me up on that, so I think I'm going to just take that down. I find that the first of the year is a bad time to, for short planning of getaway weekends. So,
true enough. Summer's better for that kind of thing, I would think.
Summer's much better. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the last thing has to do with Miss Brown. I have been introduced to 2 new varieties of cheese, and Carrie has been introduced to a new store, Fromage.
Fromage at Old Saybrook.
And it was a terrible experience, right, Carrie?
It was. And so I get there at the required time because I'm a timely girl, well, I like to be. And I get there and I open the door and I was immediately like, oh, this is going to be terrible. And if you've ever been to the store, you'll know why. So anyway, I walk in and I'm there about 5 minutes and I get a text from Mr. Franklin saying, I'm running late. Long story. I'm just leaving Groton, which is, at least half an hour away.
You're going to need to pronounce that, Carrie. It's Groton.
Groton.
Just imagine it being pronounced with an Australian accent. It's Groton.
I've forgotten all my Australian. And so my response was, this shop is so boring. And Richard, you've been there, so right, that it's just like this. It's like being in a European delicatessen without buying a plane ticket.
Exactly.
It's just, so there was all of my favorite French brands, all the English stuff, it's just this amazing store, and it goes on forever. It's like a TARDIS. It looks really small from the outside. You open the door and you kind of in this world that just goes on forever. So I was not actually in the slightest bit disappointed that Mr. Franklin abandoned me there for 40 minutes before he arrived. And then
and about 100 varieties of cheese, right?
Right. And then I text him and said, Also, I am cursing you right now. One, because you told me this store existed, and two, because you didn't tell me this store existed sooner.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, the cheese experience in America always for me has been limited to what you can get in the supermarkets.
Yeah.
I'd never actually had other than like when I lived in New York, there were obviously delis that will do sliced cheese, but it's that is a real fromagerie.
Yep.
That place Fromage is. It's like a French cheese shop.
Yep. And for those who are interested, it's in Old Saybrook, Connecticut.
So I introduced Mr. Franklin to one of my favorite cheeses, which is double Gloucester.
Oh, yeah.
It's naturally orange in color, and it has onions and chives in it. Mm-hmm. And I persuaded Mr. Franklin that he needed to do a taste test there in the store, and he promptly bought an entire lump of it as a result of that taste test. It is absolutely one of my favorites. I absolutely love it. I think you were planning to put it on burgers.
Yeah, that's right. That's it sort of has a cheddary flavor with the onion and chive, so perfect for burgers. But then she said, "Oh, if you like onions, you should try the Wensleydale because it's got it's a brown cheese. It doesn't look all that appetizing, but it's got caramelized onions in it, and that's what gives it that brown look." And man,
yeah,
that didn't last long.
Wensleydale is also one of those cheeses that one of the things I like to do at the holidays is I'll do Wensleydale with like cranberries in it or blueberries or a fruit. That's one of my little holiday treats is Wensleydale with bits of fruit in.
Awesome.
I've got to admit, I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to cheese. I don't like non-cheese things to be in it, like cheese with walnuts and cheese. But I make an exception for truffles.
Oh, got some of that too.
Yeah, just slice open a brie and put thin slices of truffles in, put it back together again, and leave it in a cheese cave just so that it's long enough to be able to grow the white mold around the bits that you cut off, and give that baby a couple of weeks to mature, and then truffle flavour emanating throughout the brie. That's just pure heaven right there.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Hey, Carrie, I need to ask you, how was your week?
Well, my week was, strangely enough, it seemed to be filled with Franklins. I'm not sure what that was about, but anyway. So, no, it was a great week. One of the highlights was definitely the trip to the cheese shop with you yesterday.
Yep.
And then we went to a very nice in-house coffee roasting place yesterday and had a chat over a cup of coffee, which did not spike your blood sugar, so that was cool.
Yep, it didn't.
We had Christmas, and I spent part of Christmas Day with the Franklins.
That's right.
There's a theme here.
I got to mention this because this was the first year that we didn't have kids in the house on Christmas morning.
Right.
Well, we wanted to be around people, so we invited a few friends over, including Miss Brown. And it was nice.
It was nice. I rolled up late, but Carl made these amazing cheese crackers, and he sautéed up some bits of steak and sausage, and we just had nibbles. We nibbled and laughed a lot. There was a lot of laughing.
There was a lot of laughing. All right, well, let's give away some swag. And before we get going with this, I just got to say that this is the last time we'll be giving away the treasure trove of stuff in every show, but we encourage you to go to fanclub.2keto.com to see the products we like, and also shop for keto products and books on Amazon at amazon.2keto.com, and at the same time, your purchase helps us do what we do.
So this week we picked a lucky winner at random from the members of the 2 Keto Dudes fan club.
Right, and we're giving away a treasure trove of stuff from vendors we like, all of which you can find, as I said before, at fanclub.2keto.com.
We also need to mention a caveat. Most of our vendors can only ship inside the United States.
Right, but if we happen to pick someone outside the U.S., we'll find something to send you, but probably not the whole treasure trove.
So who's our winner this week?
Today's winner is Buzz Foster.
Yo, Buzz!
Congratulations, Buzz. Let's tell everybody what Buzz has won.
The first thing we're giving away is a 2 Keto Dudes coffee mug that says keep calm and keto on.
That's good advice. We're also giving away a signed copy of Lies My Doctor Told Me by Dr. Ken Berry online at lies.2keto.com.
And a bottle of Stevia Sweet barbecue sauce developed by a barbecue restaurant owner who plans to change the restaurant industry forever. Only 2 carbs per serving online at steviasweetbbq.com.
And a cheese-making kit from Wine & Whey. Pam Zorn gave everybody at Keto Fest a kit so they could make their own fresh mozzarella. That's online at wineandwhey.com, wineandwhey.com.
And a 6-ounce cup of beef bone broth concentrate from Birthright Nutrition. Just add water, heat, stir, sip, and enjoy. Jam-packed with good stuff. More at birthrightnutrition.com.
We're also giving away a bottle of Remag Magnesium Solution developed by Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with a copy of her protocol and the Keto and Magnesium Manifesto online at magmiracle.com.
We're also giving away a big bottle of fasting drops from Keto Chow. It's a well-formulated blend of electrolytes. Just drop a little in your water and fasting will be a breeze. Online at fastingdrops.2keto.com.
And 2 bottles of Sated, 1 chocolate, 1 vanilla, online at sated.2keto.com.
Finally, a bag of everything bagels from Fox Hill Kitchens, made with yeast but no wheat or gluten, online at bread.2keto.com.
And if you don't want to wait to win some swag, you can buy all sorts of it online at gear.2keto.com.
Okay, then, that brings us to a little point in the show where we're going to read some, mail!
We're justified and we don't ignore that.
You weren't ready for that, were you?
No. Made me jump out of my seat.
What you got, Carl?
All right, well, this is from Connie Ortiz from the great big public before and after thread on the ketogenic forums at success.2keto.com. And this is from October. Mm-hmm. Connie says, hard to believe that today is my 1-year keto-versary. My story is the same as so many others. I spent my entire life fighting my weight, always the biggest kid in any group. I was the smart one. My sister was the cute one. I tried darn near every diet known to man. I avoided weight loss surgery, but only because of financial reasons. Somehow I managed to avoid type 2 diabetes, but I'm sure that would have changed given time.
Yeah.
My blood sugar was creeping up.
Ugh.
My triglycerides were high. HDL was low. VLDL was high. Desperation led me to keto. I love biology, so researching the how and why weren't a struggle. Implementation was just mind over matter. The first couple of weeks were the toughest, but about 3 weeks in, I noticed that it wasn't a struggle anymore, that my cravings were gone, and it's been pretty easy to stay on since. Especially when I think about all I've experienced, especially considering that I have no gallbladder, a victim of my attempt at low-fat dieting, and 2/3 of my thyroid is gone. So I'm down 96 pounds.
Wow.
6 jean sizes, 5 shirt sizes. I haven't been sick in a year. No colds, no flu, no gastric distress, no heartburn. My hair and nails are healthier than they've been in years. My blood sugars are solidly in the normal range.
Nice.
My trigs are 1/3 of what they were.
Mm-hmm.
My HDL is higher, LDL much lower. My doctor is fully in support of my diet and has asked me to speak to more than one of his patients.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome.
Mm.
What do you think about what she said? She has no gallbladder, which was a victim of her attempt at low-fat dieting.
Yeah, well, so the gallbladder is used to batch up bile, which we excrete from our livers, and it coats the inside lining of our gut, and we use it to emulsify fats. It's basically to make them so that we can absorb them across our gut wall. And then at the end of the gut, basically that bile goes out, and that bile is what makes feces brown. The reason that we have bile duct in the first place is because we want to be able to batch the bile and hold on to it until we have a meal of fatty food and then release it all at once. And of course, what happens is if you go on a low-fat diet for too long, your bile duct becomes you literally do not use it. And so you end up having bile in the inside wall of the bile duct that never gets squirted out into the gut. And essentially it gets dry and crusty and becomes stone-like, and then it can basically obstruct the duct that leads from the bile, from the gallbladder into the gut. And so, and that's quite painful. And, when your bile duct is obstructed, you pretty much have to have the gallbladder removed. It's not going to stop you from eating fats afterwards. It just means that you're not going to be able to eat a really large meal of fat because you'll have some distress.
So I guess what you're saying is if human beings don't eat fat, dysfunction occurs.
That's exactly what happens. You really need to be using your bile duct most of your life for it to be in good function. And, if you go on a low-fat diet, you're going to be shortchanging the fitness of your gallbladder.
Yeah.
So, that's exactly what happens. So it's kind of sad. One thing I do want to mention, she mentioned that her triglycerides are a third of what they used to be. This is the fat that is basically in circulation in our body because we're not using it.
Yeah.
And one of the problems that happens, we think of this ketogenic diet as fixing your appetite and making you eat less, and that's why you lose weight. That's actually not how it works. The way the ketogenic diet works is it lowers your insulin. Insulin is a hormone that controls a whole bunch of things, but one of the things it does is a high level of insulin in your blood stops your cells from using fat for energy. And what happens? All of that fat pulls in your circulation, and it's circulated from your body fat to your liver and back again. So it's basically being juggled in your circulation the whole time because you're not using it. As soon as your insulin drops because you don't eat sugar or starch, now you're able to actually use fat for energy. The levels in your blood dropped to a third of what they were. I mean, mine were my triglycerides at my worst were 1,111 milligrams per deciliter.
Crazy.
10 grams of fat in every litre of my blood. I have about 5 litres of blood in my entire body, so that was, 50 grams of fat, running around in my body because I couldn't use it, because my cells weren't buying the fat. They were basically they were locked in a state where they could only burn glucose, and that's really what a ketogenic diet does. It drops your insulin so much so that you're actually able to burn more energy from body fat.
Thanks for that explanation, Richard. Do you have a mail for this week?
Yes, I do. Now, you probably, if you're a Facebook friend of mine, you probably saw that I posted a picture of my meat on Facebook. And this is a piece of Master Kobe Marbling 9 Plus Wagyu New York steak. It's a New York strip, and this, you've seen this, haven't you?
It looks like meat-flavored fat. That's what
So, okay, the USDA has a database of foods. You can basically go to the USDA database and say, give me the nutritional information for one of these steaks, and it will tell you that steak is about 6% protein.
Wow.
I mean, most steak is like 30% protein, 30% water, and 30% fat. This is like 6% protein, 63% fat. And the majority of the fat is actually monounsaturated fat.
Yeah,
so it is just, I mean, this animal has just been, well, it's not actually a very healthy animal.
No.
It's not a healthy cow. It's not going to be able to run away from a predator. But somebody posted a comment in my thread and said, this is from Kim, who said, is it grass-fed? I thought meat could only obtain such high marbling when it's grain-fed. No criticism. I just really wanted to know. And, it's fed grains. The myth goes that Kobe beef, so Wagyu basically means Japanese cow. It's a literal translation of the term.
Okay.
Now, and so there are Wagyu, there are Japanese breeds in Australia. So when you buy Wagyu from Australia, this is the Japanese breed of cow, which is a highly marbled cow. Kobe is actually descended from one of 12 sires that are particularly highly marbled. There's 12 bulls that artificially inseminate cows, right across the region that make this Kobe beef.
And only in Japan, right?
Well, actually, it's also made in other countries now, and Australia is able to get access to some of that some of that semen. So we are actually producing Kobe style. We call them Master Kobe. Essentially, it's MB9+. MB is a marbling level, and most steaks that you buy in the store are 1 to 3 levels of marbling. If you were to buy a Australian Wagyu steak, it's likely a marbling level of 5.
Okay.
This is a marbling level of 9+. 9 is the highest that the scale goes to.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is off the hook marbling.
Nice.
So anyway, the myth goes that these animals are fed grains and beer.
Right.
And they don't drink any water, they only drink beer, and they get massaged by human attendants with the hay made from the stalks of the grains. So, I personally suspect that they're fed something very similar to dry muesli, sort of oats, sorghum, and molasses. To be able to get that kind of marbling, and they don't do a lot of exercise. Both humans and cows get well marbled when they eat grains.
That's right.
This is not a healthy cow, but it is, however, a delicious one, and it's converted food that we shouldn't eat into food that we probably could. And so,
yes, a wonderful miracle.
Yeah, on the subject of omega-3s, I mean, a lot of people say, I want to eat grass-fed steak because it has a higher omega-3 ratio than grain-fed steak, and that is entirely true. However, even beef fed on grass all of its life has 3 times more omega-6 than omega-3. So,
right.
It doesn't matter how well you treat your beef, you're still getting more omega-6 than you are getting omega-3. So it's perverting your omega-6, omega-3 balance towards omega-6, which is obviously more inflammation rather than less inflammation. If you want to have a higher omega-3 ratio, you should eat more food that, for example, eat salmon, fish. You want to eat maybe cod liver oil. You maybe eat fish that live directly on algae, because most of the omega-3 oils are actually created by algae. So, that's the trick there. But anyway, this beef is going to be delicious, and my recipe today is what I plan to do with it.
Ah, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, so that's my mail.
All right, cool. Well, that looks really great, and it's priced accordingly. That one steak is 95 Australian dollars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that's about $75. So yeah, it's not cheap.
All right. Well, now let's get to the meat of the show here.
Pun intended.
Welcome to the family, Carrie Brown.
Welcome, Carrie.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's weird to be here, but it's good.
It's a little weird. Now, not all the shows from here on are going to be like this. It's going to be me and Carrie, and Richard is taking a hiatus, as you know, and he's got to focus on his schoolwork.
I do.
He's going to be back once a month to drop some more science on us and tell us what he's been up to.
Sure.
But we asked our listeners in the Holiday Hangout show to go to suggest.2keto.com to suggest, give us their suggestions about what we should do with the new podcast with myself and Carrie. And we got some interesting answers. We got over 200 responses as of now.
Wow.
And we asked people, what do you want to keep of the current format? Interestingly enough, the intro was the least popular.
That doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise me either. And it's probably about time we shorten up the intro. Do you agree with that, Carrie?
Yep.
All right. Corrections and apologies, how was your week, and recipes all got about the same amount of thumbs up, and which was pretty high. Mail got a little bit higher. People like to hear what other people are talking about. And the most popular thing that they wanted to keep, of course, was the interview or topic of the day. In other words, what we're doing now, the meat of the show, if you will. And we asked for some potential ideas for future shows, and almost by a factor of 2, guests from medical community was the most popular thing that people want to hear on the show. And we realized that most of the people that responded to this poll are current listeners who are very sciencey. But Carrie put it out to her group on Facebook, or her multiple groups. And what was the response from your groups, Carrie?
Food! food.
Recipes.
We want recipes. We want deep dives on ingredients. We want to hear the science on the food things as opposed to the body things. And we want to learn how to cook better, and we want to learn how to make keto delicious. But we do also want the doctors.
Right.
So it was kind of a flip flop of the and actually Carl and I discussed this before and said, I bet that Carrie's crowd are going to want all the food, and Carl and Richard's crowd are going to want all the science, and that's exactly what happened. So,
and that's exactly what we're going to deliver.
Yeah. I think our lot like the recipes as well. I mean, one of the reasons that we got into this in the first place is because we were convinced that being able to cook for yourself was the magic weapon for keto. And so, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're going to be doing keto, you need to understand how food is made.
Yeah, and that brings us to our mission statements. And Carrie and I both decided to come up with mission statements for what we want to bring to the community, right? Mm-hmm. And my mission is, it's one of the missions that I have in Two Keto Dudes, but just to clarify it a little bit is exactly what Richard just said, which is to encourage type 2 diabetics to learn how to cook for themselves and then teach their families and friends, and especially their youngins. Teach your youngins how to cook. It's so important. So that is my mission statement. I think that, as Richard said, the way for people to take control over their bodies and, the physiology of what's going on to succeed at keto, you really need to know how to cook. And it doesn't have to be complicated. And Carrie, what is your mission?
So I kind of have two. My one big goal is to prove to the world that keto food can taste better, more delicious than the any previous diet or way of eating you've been on.
Amen.
So that nobody is ever going to think that they have to give things up or they're somehow going to be deprived. So that's my kind of one of my main goals in life. Oh, and also not just that it will taste delicious, but that it's also easy and simple. If you have a great recipe, it's easy and simple to create delicious keto food at home in your kitchen. And then, of course, my other mission in life is to help people to address their mental health issues via diet and supplementation where necessary, as opposed to pharmaceuticals and talk therapy.
Yeah. Here for that too.
And because, we're certainly in America and probably globally, we are in the grips of this massive mental health crisis. And nothing really is being done about it. Well, there's lots happening, but it's keeping the status quo rather than actually getting people better or off their meds or out of jail or, wherever their mental health crisis leads them. So I really, really want to spread the word that mental health starts in the gut. And food should be our first line of defense.
That's a great mission statement. So I really feel like we're expanding the message here to go beyond type 2 diabetes and obesity, which Richard and I were focused on, to get in more into the science of cooking and more into the non-scale victories or of using a ketogenic diet. We're going to talk about all the things that you'd expect. We're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about cancer. We're going to talk about Alzheimer's. We're going to talk about fasting and infections and all of the kinds of things like that. And hopefully we'll find people in the community to continuously bring us these stories of how they've healed themselves from various illnesses with a ketogenic diet.
One of my fears is that however good keto is proving to be for so many people in terms of weight loss, my fear is that people who don't know about the depth and breadth of what keto can afford us in terms of health benefits. My fear is that the message is going to get lost in the weight loss story.
Yes.
And I think that would be a tragedy.
And I think it's already started to get lost, Carrie. The keto is becoming mainstream, and 2019 is the year where you're going to see it plastered all over magazines, and everybody's going to want to jump on the keto bandwagon, and they're getting it wrong.
I don't want people with mental health issues to see the word keto and think, oh, that's for weight loss. That's not something I need to look at.
Agree.
That's my fear. And so that's why I think it's awesome that, well, we'll obviously still talk about weight loss because, for you and Richard, it's been just a massive, massive win. And for so many people it is. But I don't want that to overshadow all the amazing health benefits that keto can bring, and for me, especially in the area of mental health.
Actually, Carrie, I would actually give up all 100 pounds that I lost gladly as long as I could keep 10 toes.
I totally agree.
So the weight loss was never an issue for me. It's just that some people who are diabetic are also overweight. And when they fix up the dysregulation that is caused by being hyperinsulinemic and then also eating high carbohydrate foods, when they get rid of that dysregulation, their new homeostasis takes, in my case, my homeostasis took me from 150 kilograms down to 103 kilograms. But that was incidental to the fact that my glucose was in control, my appetite was not driving me hyperphagic, and I was in control of my life. And so many of my health benefits that came from that were not actually because I lost weight, but because my body had reached a new homeostasis. The other thing is that people think that if keto is a diet and I got to 103 kilograms, but I'm still in an overweight category, surely I want to be at least normal weight or underweight. And at this point, the only way that I can lose weight from now is to calorie restrict.
Fast.
Even worse, calorie restrict. I'd have to eat fewer calories every day than my homeostasis wants me to eat, and I'd try and prevent muscle loss by doing weightlifting exercises the entire time. I'd have to basically work out 2 to 3 hours a day every day, plus eat less food than my body was telling me I needed to have to be able to lose weight to get down to the point of looking like some of the anorexics who adorn our keto groups on Facebook. And so, I agree with Carrie. I don't want weight loss to overwhelm the fact that what we're doing here is we're getting our bodies to basically regulate to a new homeostasis. So anyway, that's my point of view.
And not just that, Richard, but, diabetes, the state of your body is essentially rotting from the inside out.
Yeah.
It's like corrosion. It's like rust on a car. It's happening from the inside out. Your toes will drop off like your fender will drop off. And heart disease, all these nasty things are happening on the inside. And that's what you've got to fix if you've got diabetes.
Right.
In Carrie's case, the brain was just starving for ketones, right? And then the ketones just made all these problems go away.
And I think it's that age-old problem that people are attracted by what they see rather than what they don't see. So everyone's looking at keto for weight loss because that's what they see is happening. People who are looking at keto people are seeing the weight loss. What they're not seeing is all the good things happening inside. So, Richard, they're not focused on you having 10 toes. They're focused on the amount of air you displace, right? It's, so it's kind of that we still have that problem of we have to get people to understand that what's on the inside is so much more important than what's on the outside. Right. And so that's my fear for keto is that everyone's so preoccupied with what's on the outside that they're not even coming to keto because they don't maybe they don't need to change the outside and they don't realize the benefits that keto has for the inside, particularly for the brain.
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, I'm super excited. One of the things when I posted our poll in my Facebook group, it was everyone, it turned into this kind of tsunami of we want all the things, we want everything. We don't just want food. We want the doctors talking about the medical aspects. We want Richard talking his science. We want the recipes. We want ingredients. We want the successor. We want everything. So that's what Carl and I are going to try and serve up.
Yep, that's right. And it's going to be fun. You're going to learn a lot.
You're also all going to have to learn to navigate my British humour.
Which is different from an Australian humour. And both are different from an American humour. So if you're used to something different from an Australian,
stay tuned.
We're taking a slight veer to the left now.
I think Carl's getting used to it a little bit. There was a few we'll text or we'll be on Messenger and I'll type something and there'll be this silence. There'll be this little gap and then he'll go, oh! So we're getting there.
Well, you guys peckish? Feeling hungry?
I'm a little bit hungry.
Yeah, I think it's time for some recipes.
Heard you say you're due for a little.
Short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That was I'm not quite sure what just happened, look.
All right, well, I'll start, and we'll all three do a recipe today.
Okay.
So this is how I broke my 3-day fast. I had a sous vide pork chop from RD86. And talking to Chef Robert, this is his technique. First of all, this was the most tender, delicious pork chop I've had, except for maybe the smoked pork chop at Daddy Jack's. So you're going to season a thick, fatty pork chop with olive oil, salt, and pepper. You're going to seal that in a vacuum bag. Or if you don't have a vacuum sealer, you can use the submerge in water method that Richard talked about on an earlier show. Richard, this uses the Archimedes principle, right?
Yeah, that's right. So what you do is you put your food in a Ziploc bag and you get a pot of water that the food can be drowned in. And you basically want to push the bag down. You want to keep the lip of the bag, the open top of the bag above the water, and you want to push everything else down into the water. And what will happen is the air will come out of the bag, and that's the point where you seal the bag. It's very simple.
Yeah, and it works. It works without a vacuum sealer.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure not to get water in the bag when you're sealing it. But you push it all the way to the end, and the pressure of the water pushes the air out. So then we use the Anova precision cooker, which is now like under $100, I think.
Yeah.
And you want to keep that chop at 132 Fahrenheit for at least 48 hours. 3 days, maybe. 2 days, 3 days, whatever. Now, when you're ready to finish this, you want to preheat the oven to 300 Fahrenheit and remove the chop and pat it with a paper towel until it's completely dry. And that's kind of important because if you put wet food in a hot pan with oil or fat, you could have a grease fire. Like it's not a good idea.
Nah.
So pat down the pork chop, season it with salt and pepper, and heat up a cast iron skillet on high for at least 3 minutes to get it smoking hot. And you want to drop 2 tablespoons or more of butter in the pan or olive oil, or you could slather mayo on the chop just like Richard talked about with a steak. And you want to sear that for just 2 minutes on both sides. Actually, sear it for 2 minutes on the first side, flip it over, and then put it right in the oven for 5 minutes to bring the temperature up to medium. And remove that from the oven and the pan and allow it to rest on a room temperature plate. And in the skillet on the stove, you're going to deglaze that using the juice from the bag and add a little bit more butter, several sprigs of rosemary chopped up, and the juice from a half a lemon. And you want to basically whisk that together until it's thick and pour that over the chop and serve it with your favorite side dish, such as broiled Brussels sprouts with bacon, which is what they serve at RD86. And my friends, this is the most you can cut it with a fork. It was unbelievable.
If you don't have a sous vide,
Mm-hmm.
you can, if you go to carriebrown.com and type in how to cook a pork chop, you can see how to cook a incredibly juicy pork chop just using a pan. If a sous vide is not in your kitchen yet, or you don't have the budget for one, you can get a juicy pork chop another way.
Okay, great. Richard, what you got for a recipe?
Well, you remember I was talking about my meats that I put on a photo of my meat on Facebook?
Yeah.
Well, this is Master Kobe MB9 Plus Wagyu New York steak. And I just bought one steak because obviously, it's a $95 steak raw. And I've been thinking about how I should cook this. And I want to get some opinions from Carl and Carrie. But I was initially thinking maybe I should sous vide the steak. And there's a lot of people, there's a Japanese technique where a steak is poached in butter.
Yeah.
One of the problems here is that the fats in this steak, they almost go liquid at body temperature.
Huh.
So the problem is that they're just going to all render out and end up in the butter.
Right.
So I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm thinking I might just sear both sides of the steak and then just slice it and eat and basically eat thin slices of this steak almost raw with the outside
Almost rare, yeah.
just seared. So I'm thinking that's probably the best way to cook, but what do you guys reckon?
I don't know about Carrie, but I would sear it and then I would maybe finish it in the oven just to bring it up a little bit. But you do run the risk of overcooking it if you're not careful. I'm not sure. I don't think it needs the sous vide treatment because it's already tender.
Yeah. Yeah, and I run the risk of basically rendering all the fat out of it.
Right.
There's no connective tissue to turn into gelatin here. It's just It's essentially a little bit of protein surrounded with fat.
Yeah, right.
What do you think, Carrie? What would you do to such a fatty piece of meat?
I have not played. I have actually a follower sent me a sous vide, so I have one, but it came just when I was moving to Connecticut, and I haven't broken it out yet. So I really need to. I'm going to reserve judgment until I've actually played with one. A couple of my admins in my Facebook group just rave about the sous vide, I'm going to have to bust mine open and have a fiddle and see what's cooking.
Yeah.
But up until this point, if I cook meat, it's typically, well, for a steak, it's a combination of the frying pan and the oven.
Yeah. So there's two schools of thought there. There's one school that says you cook it 3.5 minutes on one side, 3.5 minutes on the other side, and then put it in the oven for 3.5 minutes, and then take it out and put it on a stone on a board for 3.5 minutes, and then cut into it. And then the other side, the other school of thought says, this is Heston Blumenthal's in this school, is he turns his all the time. Every 15 seconds he turns it. And he doesn't even, I don't think he even puts it into the oven. He's just cooking it in the fry pan. But because he's turning it all the time, he's able to get the temperature regulated. Are you one of the 3.5 minutes or whatever, 4 minutes each side?
No, I'm a big fan of turning.
Okay.
I have never heard about that technique. I'm going to have to use that.
Right. I think normally, I mean, if this was a regular piece of steak, which is mostly protein and less fat, I would be tempted to cook it in the sous vide for like 51 Celsius, which is going to, and for about 2 hours. And what that does
medium rare,
it's going to make the entire steak from edge to edge medium rare. So every single piece of that meat is medium rare. And also, because it's in there for 2 hours, some of the collagen that is in the connective tissue will be broken down into gelatin, and so it means that it becomes sort of what used to be sort of like sinew and bits becomes unctuous, sort of gelatinous and delicious. And then I'd just sear the outside, and so I'd smear it with a bit of mayonnaise, and I'd put it on a really hot griddle pan for like a cast iron pan for a minute at max each side, and then that would be great for just, and then you just end up with like the outside millimeter is brown Maillard reaction, and then everything else is perfectly medium rare end to end. But I don't know. This steak intimidates me a little bit. So I think I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sear it and eat it raw. I think that's how it just looks so good.
Why don't you try the 15-second technique?
It's turning it every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. And that is actually how you do it on a teppanyaki grill too. That's how the Japanese Kobe beef is done.
Wow,
too.
there you go.
So, but yeah, or I could poach it in butter. That has been seen as a technique. Well, look, I tell you what, I'm going to go off and play with my meat, and I will report back to the show in a future episode.
I think you should cut it in half and do 2 different ways.
Oh, that's an idea.
That's a good idea. Yeah, have an A/B test.
But we'll need before and after photographs of all the things.
Are you sure you're not an engineer, Carrie?
I think the after photo is going to be me patting my belly going,
I'm a food engineer.
True enough.
All right, Carrie, it's time for your recipe. What you got?
So I thought, since we're still in the holidays, I thought we should do one last holiday recipe before the end of the year. So we're going to make sugar cookies.
Yeah.
And you can find this, and Carl will put the link in the show notes so you can go look at it. Because if you can take notes from my British fast speaking, then good on you. But most of you will probably just go to the blog to look at it. But I have to admit that when I developed these, I'd never eaten a sugar cookie in my life. So I didn't really know exactly what I was aiming for. But I am assured that these are exactly like traditional American sugar cookies. So you are going to need...
sugar?
You're not going to need any sugar.
Good. I was just getting a bit worried there.
But you're going to need 5 ounces, and I'm not going to give yes, I will, because we've got... No, I won't. I'm not going to give the metric equivalents. They're all on the blog. You can see them. Mm-hmm. We're going to need 5 ounces of softened butter. We're going to need 6 ounces of... I use xylitol, but you can also, in this case, use erythritol or allulose. That will work too. You're going to need 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum, 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a tablespoon of almond milk, or you can substitute any nut milk of your choice, or you could even use a tablespoon of heavy cream if that's what you have. Mm-hmm. 1 egg, 8 ounces of almond flour, 1 ounce of coconut flour, and a tablespoon of my favourite keto cooking ingredient, which is konjac flour, otherwise known as glucomannan powder. Yeah. You're going to put the softened butter, the sweetener, baking powder, xanthan gum, sea salt in a mixing bowl, and you're going to cream them all together with a hand or a stand mixer until light and fluffy. Or if you feel like your arm needs a workout, you can do it with a wooden spoon. You're going to add the vanilla, the milk or cream, the egg, and mix well until completely combined. Then in a separate bowl, you're going to place the almond flour, the coconut flour, and the konjac, and you're going to mix them together well. The reason for that is that you particularly want the konjac flour to be evenly distributed throughout. If you skip the mixing the dry things together part, you're probably going to end up with lumps of konjac flour, and you don't want that. Yeah. So you do need to mix the dry ingredients together well. Then you're going to add half of those mixed flours into the butter mixture. Mm-hmm. And mix it in. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to add the remaining half of the flour until it's completely incorporated into a dough. You're going to wrap the dough in plastic wrap or place in a Ziploc bag and put in the fridge for a couple of hours to become firm. When you take the dough out of the fridge, you're going to roll it out to 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick, using a little almond flour to stop it sticking to the work surface if necessary. Then you're going to use a cutter. These are cut biscuits. So sugar cookies are typically, this is where you use your pretty Christmas cutters or round cutters. They're shaped using a cutter.
Could you use like a Madeleine tin?
I haven't tried.
You mean like a small can, like a soup can or something?
Well, a Madeleine
yes.
is a special shape of biscuit.
Right.
And there's a tray that's made with the indentation shaped like the Madeleine biscuit.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Why not? Right?
Well, just because the cooking time's going to be different because it's got sides. If you roll it and cut them, but if you're actually putting it in a tin, you may have to vary the time and temperature.
Right.
If you use a Madeleine tin.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're going to roll it out, you're going to cut them out, you're going to place the cookies on a baking sheet 1 inch apart. You're going to bake them in the center of the oven at 350 Fahrenheit for 10 to 12 minutes until they're barely starting to brown just a little. Then you're going to remove them from the oven and you're going to leave them on the tray until the cookie, when they come out the oven, they're kind of soft. So leave them on the tray until they are firmed up enough to move without either breaking or getting misshapen.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, use a flat spatula, move the cookies carefully onto a cooling rack to cool completely. And these are better the next day. So if you can resist eating them,
Put them in a tin.
or bake them just before you go to bed and then leave them to cool and leave them overnight. They are better. The texture improves overnight. So
Great.
that's how to have your sugar-free sugar cookies. And we'll put a link in the show notes so that you can go make those.
Fantastic. Well, there's one more thing I want to mention, people, is that even though Richard is not going to be doing the weekly show with us, he's going to be back every month, and he's also going to try to make it to Keto Fest, assuming that we have a successful Kickstarter and all of that, which I'm pretty sure we will. But so, it's not goodbye. It's just good luck with your studies, and
Yeah, a couple of people asked me, are you going to Keto Fest? And my school semester starts on the 22nd of July.
Oh.
And Keto Fest finishes on the 21st of July. So I'm going to miss the first couple of days of school, but that's okay. I'll definitely be there. I won't hang around. I won't be able to hang around for very long afterwards, unfortunately. But no, that's I definitely plan to. And I'll come if we have a Kickstarter. If we don't have a Kickstarter, obviously I won't. So there you go.
Definitely. All right. Well, good luck with your schools, Richard, and
Thanks.
Definitely come back and tell us what you've learned.
And thank you. Thank you for the last 140, however many episodes of awesome. Thank you for the legacy that you've given everybody and that you're leaving me. And I'm incredibly grateful for everything you've done over the past nearly 3 years to just freely help people to get on a better path and be more healthful and enjoy more life and spend less money being sick.
Yes.
You're welcome. Of course, if you have anything you want to tell us, something we said wrong, something you don't agree with, some more research that you found to support or refute anything that we've said, send it by email to dudes@twoketodudes.com or post it on our website.
And you can follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at 2KetoDudes. And make sure to use the hashtag 2KetoDudes.
And of course, if you want to join the free ketogenic forum, it's forum.2keto.com. And you can have a look around the ketogenic forum without needing to create an account by starting with success.2keto.com.
And if useless swag is your fancy, like t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other junk with witty keto sayings on them, head over to gear.2keto.com.
And if you want a shot at getting some of that swag for free, join the 2 Keto Dudes fan club. You'll be eligible to win something in every show. Go to fanclub.2keto.com.
And if you feel like supporting our forums and all the podcasts that we produce, think about making a monthly pledge on our Patreon page at patreon.2keto.com.
You can also see all of our podcasts and other videos on YouTube at youtube.2keto.com.
And if you haven't already, go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That's how new people get to know about what we do. 2 Keto Dudes is brought to you by 2 Keto LLC, who strives to support the low-carb community with podcasts and other publications. My friends, keep calm and keto on.
Yeah, keep calm and keto on, Carl.
Keep calm and keto on, Carrie.
Oh, do I have to keep calm and keto on?
No, you don't, but you're welcome to.
You're welcome to if you like.
I can keto on. I'm not sure about the calm part.
Just keep carrying keto on.
There we go.
There you go. All right. We'll see you next time on Two Keto Dudes.